Well, that's a good question. Actually, one of the things that we haven't really kind of embraced at the moment is the role of water in architecture. In a way, I liken it to perhaps the way the car changed architecture in the early part of the 20th century, and we designed all our cities and our buildings around trying to kind of route the car, to then the end of the 20th century when we started to respond to environmental pressures and solar orientation became a big driver. Now it's like we're suddenly playing catch-up and realising the role of water. Maybe one day we'll design holistically, but it's water is really important to actually designing our buildings around it so that we can actually slow and absorb water to reduce runoff and to reduce flood risk to other areas, but also to actually design our buildings to enjoy water as well, so that we can actually harvest it for rainwater and things, but equally so it becomes kind of beautiful parts of our buildings, with the ponds outside houses and developments, or whether it be using our water space like docks and actually putting floating buildings into it, or whether it be kind of reinvigorating our river space and creating those kind of wonderful vistas and animation along the water. Well, water-sensitive urban design is obviously what WASUD stands for. For me, it's got a lot of similarities to SUDS, or Sustainable Urban Drainage. I mean, really it comes back to the question about the role of water and architecture in the built environment. What it is about saying we need to understand our natural environment and to kind of work with the natural water cycle so that we can kind of slow the flow of it, we can allow water to percolate back down into the ground slowly again, and to harness water as well in our buildings for cooling and for recycling and various things like that. Well, I think there are two things that we need to do to kind of improve the kind of uptake of water in architecture, as I'm probably referring to it rather than was said. First is I do think we need some policy change. It always helps. You can have wonderful examples of things around the world and things, and people will look at those, but only so many of them will come forward. And there's a lot of people who have a kind of resistance to change and doing things differently. And so the other one, which is really key to it, is some wonderful examples, is pilots to demonstrate how actually using water in the built environment can transform things for the better. And in all of the schemes that we're working on, flood risk is a good driver, where we actually create wonderful landscape spaces between buildings and things, which we wouldn't otherwise be able to do, because developers would probably just want to maximise putting buildings on it and things. So even on some of the small scale projects where we can actually manage the water flow, and we can put in sustainable drainage systems and green roofs and so forth, and they actually add to the value of the properties. So you can actually, our clients can actually see this makes your building better. Well, I think there's a role for lots of different technologies, whether it be for different types of architecture, from very simple kind of solutions where we can kind of elevate buildings out of kind of flood risk, for example, to more innovative approaches like the amphibious house that we're doing in the UK. And the same applies for the actual construction details as well. So there's a role for things like modern methods of construction, but equally for traditional as well. And so when it comes to the landscape environment, of course, we're all for sort of seeing green space integrated in design. Sometimes we can't fit all that, so sometimes it actually has to be kind of harder, civil engineering solutions as well. But even they can be beautiful, and we can express the water in kind of fun and creative ways, and as part of the whole management solution.